WABC New York, WRCR Haverstraw, and 107.1 WLIR Hampton Bays.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Wednesday, July 29th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Could see some thunderstorms this morning. Chance of rain this afternoon. The high going to be 80. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 68. And then Thursday, just clouds, high 79. If you are walking out the door with us right now, 69 and raining in Yonkers up in Westchester. It's 68 and raining in Hawthorne over in New Jersey. And it's 69 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
Another night of flash floods and firefighter rescues. A big day for Dr. Fauci on Capitol Hill. Wait, what's rabbit fever and how do you contract it? A pit bull goes on the attack in Queens. And why is one New Jersey town telling another to shut up? All right, let's get into it at 5:04. New Jersey hit really hard again last night. Flash floods in Hawthorne. They had floodwaters both Monday night and again last night.
Happened, you'd be swept away. Sick.
The storms are getting worse. I mean, I've never seen nothing like the sheer force of the power that was ripping through here with the water.
Yeah, when we were hearing from the mayor of Hawthorne, he says it's been years since they've had floods like this. 2 straight days, torrential rain caused the Gulfle Brook to overflow, shut down roads. In Patterson, it was a similar ordeal with at least 20 people needing to be rescued last night from a storm that broke part of a road. There was flooding everywhere. Here's the mayor of Patterson.
In fact, if you go to 21st Avenue in Plum, manhole cover had just risen up as a result of the water pressure.
And it came down that rapidly.
It was intense, really intense.
Yes, so here's some of the rainfall that we saw yesterday, and you just realize how intense it was. Morris County, 6.4 inches. That was recorded by about 11 o'clock last night. Essex County, 4.7 inches, and most of this falling in a short period of time. And then it continued to rain overnight. Maybe you heard some of the thunderstorms blowing through overnight. In Woodland Park, which is right next to Patterson, 2 daycares had to be evacuated along Lackawanna Avenue after rain overwhelmed the community there. They had to bring trucks in to get the kids out.
I've been here about 15 years through the council and the mayor's office, and I've never had to evacuate the daycare centers.
I mean, what was that like? Yeah.
It was a little bit scary.
Yeah, that's the mayor of Woodland Park. 60 people evacuated across that town yesterday. Nearby, they were inundated with floodwaters as water went inside homes and cars. 17 water rescues in Midland Park. In one place in Midland Park, this massive tree gave way, fell on a house and a car. Here's the homeowner.
All of a sudden, the ground just shook. Literally, we thought it was a hurricane. And all of a sudden, the whole tree just came down on our, if you see the roof.
Yeah, so nobody injured, thankfully. There's no sign of how bad the damage is. I guess we'll see that at daylight. And then here in the city, there were what they call safe locations that were available to people overnight because they were really worried, as they have been in the past, about the rainwaters and flooding going into people's basement apartments, people getting trapped there. We've had that in the past. People have been killed. So overnight, they had these overnight locations where you could leave your basement apartment and head to one of these overnight shelters. A lot of them in local schools. One of them was PS 230 in Kensington, Brooklyn. Here's the Emergency Management Commissioner, Christina Farrell, talking about being prepared overnight. Now, we didn't see that anybody took part and went to these shelters, at least as of about 11 last night.
We're always thinking about people that live in basement apartments. We have flood sensors. We have things so when it starts to rain, we can see where the rain may be hitting more and then, quickly deploy resources right there.
And we've seen this over the last few administrations. The mayor is warning people, if you live in a basement apartment, pay attention to the weather because things have gotten worse over the last decade or so. And Mayor Mamdani doing the same thing yesterday, saying, hey, make sure if you're in a basement apartment, you pay attention to what's going on.
The agencies have been clearing catch basins, pre-positioning assets. So these storms are always challenging, and we want to be on top of everything.
Okay, day late will tell us a whole lot, and I imagine, at least in New Jersey anyway, and we're seeing this in Westchester as well, there'll be a lot of cleanup to do a little bit later today when it stops raining. WABC News Time, 5:09. We learned last night that a sixth person has died from the Legionnaires outbreak on the Upper East Side. So far, 90 diagnosed with the disease since the outbreak was first identified. 6 patients still in the hospital. 65 have been discharged. The New York City Health Department currently investigating that community cluster of Legionnaires that's on the Upper East Side in the neighborhoods of Carnegie Hill and Yorkville. Officials say they're confident, though, the source of the Legionella bacteria has essentially been eliminated. 5:10 down to D.C., where Dr. Anthony Fauci heads to Capitol Hill today to testify on COVID-19's origins. Correspondent Blake Berman has more.
Dr. Anthony Fauci will testify before the Senate Homeland Security Committee Wednesday, responding to a subpoena from the chairman, Senator Rand Paul. The Kentucky Republican is calling the former National Institute of Health scientist to Congress as part of his investigation into the origins of COVID-19. Fauci maintains the virus likely jumped from animals to humans, whereas Senator Paul believes that it leaked from a lab in Wuhan, China, a claim the FBI and CIA have assessed may have been possible.
Senator Rand Paul publicly released over 1,000 pages of Fauci's personal journal ahead of his testimony today, accusing Fauci of inconsistencies between what he wrote in his diary and what he said during many public appearances. President Trump bidding farewell to South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham at his memorial in D.C. yesterday. It took place at the Washington National Cathedral. The president called Graham a beloved friend and a giant of the U.S. Senate.
A true American original who left us much too soon. Lindsey rose from a small town in rural South Carolina, a place he loved so much, to become a constant fixture of American politics at the highest level.
The president listing some of Senator Graham's biggest accomplishments in D.C.
He secured record funding for our military as a budget committee chairman. He delivered the largest investment in border security in history, and last year he shepherded the passage of the largest tax cuts in American history.
And the president noting that the legislation that Graham got passed, and that he said that Senator Graham gave everything to his country.
He was a man who gave America the full measure of his good and mighty heart until that heart itself just gave out.
Now his sister Darlene, who's been appointed to serve the remainder of his term, now says she's going to run for a full term. There's a Republican primary on August 11th in South Carolina, the main election that comes up in November. And then you had Sean Hannity, who was a good friend of Lindsey Graham as well, gave a eulogy at the National Cathedral yesterday. He says that Senator Graham never forgot about his South Carolina roots while he was in D.C.
He was so proud to serve the people of South Carolina. For the people of that great state, I want you to know with no ambiguity that you gave Lindsey Graham the honor of a lifetime.
The senator loved his TV appearances. He wasn't shy about them. Meet the Press. He was on Hannity all the time. And Hannity says when he did show up, it was good for ratings.
Lindsey, my friend, goodbye for now. We will see you again. We will finish the work that you started. Well done. Good and faithful servant, enter thou into the joy of thy Lord.
The goodbye continues this morning in South Carolina, where his body has been returned. There'll be a funeral service this morning at 10:45. 5:13, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear calling for Senator Mitch McConnell to disclose more details about his health or resign from office. We have not seen the senator since June.
If he doesn't have the capacity to serve, then yes, he and or every other member of Congress should resign if they don't have the capacity.
The Democratic governor issuing the ultimatum in a letter that was sent to McConnell and to Senate Leader John Thune. The Republican senator has not been seen in public since his hospitalization after suffering a fall at his home in D.C. back in June. Now, McConnell's office has released statements and 2 photos of the senator saying he remains in a rehab facility, but that's all they've really told us.
All I'm trying to do is ask the bare minimum. And it raises the concern that he might not be able to meet the bare minimum. And if that's true, then then yes, Kentucky would need a resignation and would ultimately need a replacement. I do not know, and that's the challenge. Anybody can put out an official statement, but again, I hope everything's okay, that he's competent to serve, but asking someone to prove that to their constituents isn't a big or a heavy lift.
It seems like just something, tell us what's going on, and then the people can decide what to do.
All we've seen are photographs and statements, official statements, and some come from staff. So just give us a little assurance, and if everything's okay, everybody can move on.
Governor Beshear says that's not enough, those pictures. He wants more evidence that McConnell's actually carrying out his duties in the Senate. 5:14, the president of Ukraine, Prime Minister of Israel, they were both visiting the Oval Office yesterday, separate meetings. News Nation's Kelly Meyer reports on the discussion between President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu.
It was really all smiles here, so it seemed, at the White House today, but we don't know exactly what was said behind those closed doors because both of those meetings were closed to the press. We did hear from Netanyahu sharing publicly that he had a, quote, excellent meeting with the president, but there are those questions that remain around the next move for both countries in Iran. Netanyahu did say the meeting touched on, quote, our common goal, that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon.
President Trump warning the U.S. could resume attacks against Iran if they don't come to a deal. Now, there was U.S.-Saudi attacks that killed at least 20 Iraqi fighters, wounded 32 others, and strikes across 7 provinces as the regional war continues to expand. And in its first escalation in days, Iran fired missiles at a U.S. base in Jordan, with the Jordanian army saying it shot down 5 projectiles at dawn today. Tehran rejecting Oman's proposal to split transit routes through the Strait of Hormuz and instead calls for full control of the inbound corridor and partial control of the outbound route. That's not going to sit well with the White House. And President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu holding those positive, they say, productive talks in D.C. yesterday, but of course still just a total mess in the Middle East. In a moment, we'll head back down to Washington where the audio recordings from former President Joe Biden were released. We'll find out what was in those. We'll do that in a moment. But first, 5:16, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. And here's Justin Ella.
Thank you, Noah Maladen. Start out here in Chicago. Garrett Cole pitched 6 shutout innings with 4 hit ball, and the Yankees beat the White Sox 3-2 for their 5th victory in 6 games. Anthony Volpe hit an RBI double in the second and scored on Max Schumann's 2-run double as the Yankees moved within 1.5 games of AL East leading Tampa Bay. Jason Dominguez had 2 hits and reached base 3 times. Closer David Bednar yielded a 2-run homer with 2 outs in the 9th before striking out ex-Yankee Everson Pereira for his 22nd save. Cole was dominant in his 12th start since coming back May 22nd from Tommy John surgery. The 6-time All-Star right-hander struck out 7 and walked 2. Up next for the Yankees, Cam Schlittler will get the start against Chicago righty Davis Martin in tonight's Game 3 of 4 against the White Sox. First pitch from Chicago is scheduled for 7:40 p.m. In Queens, the middle game of the Mets series against the visiting Atlanta Braves was postponed last night due to inclement weather, called more than 5 hours before the scheduled first pitch. It's been rescheduled as part of a day-night doubleheader today and tonight. Left-hander Sean Manaea, originally slated to pitch tonight, will start the first game, scheduled for a 1:10 p.m. first pitch from Citi Field. The scheduled starters for last night, Mets right-hander Christian Scott and Braves all-star left-hander Chris Sale will pitch in the nightcap. That is set for a 7:10 p.m. first pitch from Queens. That is your sports, Noam, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:19. Audio recordings of former President Joe Biden's conversations with a ghostwriter now public following a legal battle. Correspondent Kelly O'Donnell reports that the Justice Department has released a portion of the Biden tapes following a review.
The recordings were made in 2016 and 2017, after he left office as vice president.
This is they didn't even know I have this.
And years later became part of a classified documents investigation.
In 2024, you had Special Prosecutor Robert Hur decline to press charges. He wrote that the former president was a sympathetic elderly man with a poor memory. You remember when all that came out? Well, the Heritage Foundation sued to make the recordings public and won. Biden fought to keep them private, but then withdrew his appeal just last week.
In 2024, Special Prosecutor Robert Hur declined to file charges.
I think I just said that. that.
The former president had fought to keep them sealed, but withdrew his appeal last week. Biden's office saying making them public is just the latest example of this administration weaponizing the DOJ for political retribution. The Joe Biden tapes revealed.
And they just found all the classified stuff downstairs.
The decade-old tapes capture Mr. Biden's candid conversations with a ghostwriter for a book. He's heard warning the author that material from his files might be top secret. In another clip, Biden criticized Obama's decision-making process.
Barack always got to the right spot, but a day late and a dollar short.
Yeah, so the tapes shed some light, anyway, on the occasional tensions between Vice President Biden at the time, when he was vice president, and then President Barack Obama. 521 out to Seattle, where police say the guns believed to be used in Sunday's mass shooting at a street fair that killed 3 had extended magazines, which is frightening to hear. Police Chief Sean Barnes says one of the guns had no serial number.
We recovered a Polymer 80 9mm ghost gun with an extended magazine that had a 33-round capacity. When we processed that weapon, there were 19 rounds left in that weapon.
A Glock pistol was found while food carts were being removed on Monday. It was equipped with a fully automatic switch that made it capable of rapid fire. It had a 40 magazine, 21 rounds remaining. Now, a 19-year-old who died at the scene, that was one of the gunmen. A 15-year-old boy is in custody. Police believe there's at least one other gunman out there, but they haven't found him yet.
This was a Glock model 45 9mm pistol with a fully automatic switch. Our detectives believe that the Polymer ghost gun and the Glock 45 were used in this act of violence, but we are still waiting on ballistic testing to be completed.
Now, they don't believe it was a random mass shooting. They believe these 3 people were firing at each other, maybe some gang-related item. 522 from Seattle. Let's go out to Los Angeles, where the poor people who live in this Boyle Heights neighborhood, that's where that food warehouse caught fire back in June. And they now have been trying to get all the spoiled food out of this warehouse. I mean, millions of pounds of spoiled food. And I don't really understand why it's taking so long. But the stink in that neighborhood continues. And now there's a new problem. There is a fly infestation. Well, that makes sense when you have spoiled food around. And the fly problem is huge.
There's this massive infestation of these flies, which could literally make people not just sick, but kill people.
Yeah, so it is the green bottle fly that's on this property, a private company. Why they're letting them take their good old time to clean this up, we don't really understand. But now the issue is you have flies, the stink in the neighborhood in Boyle Heights.
But we're very concerned that this is a public health crisis.
Yeah.
We're not talking about something that is a pie-in-the-sky possibility. It is happening in real time.
And those neighbors asking to be evacuated and put in another place until that cleanup is done. 524. A new report says President Trump is pressuring Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to ramp up efforts to reduce the number of childhood vaccinations. News Nation's Connell McShane reports it's driven by the president's insistence that vaccines are linked to autism.
Sources close to the president reportedly say he's hoping that alleviating autism could be a part of his legacy. And he's reportedly disappointed that Kennedy's not doing more to help make this happen since he took office. So Kennedy tried to implement new guidelines that would have cut childhood vaccinations from 17 to 11, but a federal judge stepped in and blocked the proposal. Trump reportedly has urged Kennedy to fight back, prompting the secretary to now petition an appeals court for a quicker decision.
Now, most scientists say there's no proof that vaccinations are linked to rising autism rates across the country. 525 down to Texas, where they have that hotly contested race for Senate there. Democrat James Tallarico has been using his Christian faith as a way to attract moderate Republicans. But at a rally near Dallas, his opponent, Ken Paxton, mocked some of those stances.
Just a few weeks ago, he said, "I'm a Christian, but I hate Christianity." How many Christians have you ever heard say that? He said we have 6 genders. I'm looking still for that in the Bible. I didn't even get that in my biology books in college.
Yeah, some of that a little hard to hear. The Republican nominee, Ken Paxton, says that his opponent claims to be Christian, but takes his stances that suggest otherwise. WABC News Time 525. New technology is being used to address the ongoing housing crisis in America. 3D printed homes are popping up just about everywhere, cutting costs. They speed up the timeline for contractors. They're made with concrete and rebar, and they offer more protection than a traditional home.
With 3D printing and scaling this, over time, they will be able to buy a home that is, fire resistant, water resistant, that saves on insurance, that saves on their energy bill.
That's Nan Lin. He's the founder of one of these startup companies that makes these 3D homes. A 3D printed home in California recently sold for $375,000. That's compared to the national average of $475,000 for a regular home. Spending, continues to soar in college football.
First on Tuesday, it was Ohio State University that announced all 36 of the Buckeyes sports teams would partner with J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and wear a Chase Bank patch. The bank will pay nearly $17 million per year to the OSU athletic program. That was upstaged by the Irish, as Notre Dame signed a multi-year deal with SoFi Technologies, placing that financial services company's brand on the Fighting Irish's jerseys in every sport starting this season. A 6-year deal worth up to $20 million per, the richest in college sports history. James Flippin for the Worldwide News Network.
WABC. It's the 77 WABC News Hour. Talking the news with Noam Laden. All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now, Talking the News with Noam on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Wednesday, July 29th. It's my oldest kid's 23rd birthday. How did that happen? Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Could see some thunderstorms this morning. Chance of rain this afternoon. The high going to be 80. Tonight and overnight, partly cloudy, low 68. And Thursday, just clouds, high 79. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 69 and raining in Yonkers up in Westchester. It's 68 and raining in Hawthorne over in New Jersey. And it's 69 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 540. The mother of that 12-year-old boy who was shot and killed in the Bronx by a stray bullet on Sunday, speaking out for the first time about the heartbreak of losing her son, 12-year-old Jacob Freitas. If you hadn't been following this story, the boy was on his way to a bodega Saturday afternoon in the Mount Eden section to buy a ball, and a fight broke out on the street right next to the bodega. Someone pulled out a gun, fired off a whole bunch of shots. One of those bullets shot and killed Jacob. Well, his mother, speaking out for the first time yesterday, Migdalia Martinez, says she's remembering her son, says he didn't deserve his tragic death. She says, of course, she's still grieving, but she says she's had some smiles and laughs as friends have showed her old videos of her son since his murder.
He was a fun kid, loving, smart, quirky kid. He liked all the weird stuff. 45-year-old
William Ferrer, he was arrested, facing a host of charges for firing off those bullets, including murder. Migdalia says she doesn't understand how or why this had to happen. She says anyone who recklessly murders a child should go and get life in prison without parole.
I truly hope he can live with himself for this. I don't know what he felt in him that he had to do that. And for whatever his reasoning is, it doesn't change that he took my son's life.
It does not. And outside of Jacob's apartment, there's a growing memorial of flowers, candles, handwritten messages. And she says, the mom, that she loves that this community has put their arms around her, and she says that's help.
It's an abundance of love, and I truly want to thank everyone for that.
Yeah. 541. Letters have been sent to thousands of New York City homeowners stating that they may have to pay that new controversial pied-à-terre tax, but many say they shouldn't be on that list. The surcharge is aimed at people who own a property in the city but declare their primary residence outside of the Big Apple. It targets homes that are valued over $5 million. It stems from Mayor Mamdani's promise to tax the rich and will raise at least $500 million directly for the city. And now, as part of the rollout, the city created a database of addresses that includes, but it's not limited to, those properties that may be subjected to the surcharge. And they made this public. just a little outrageous. An 81-year-old woman on the Upper East Side says she's lived in her townhouse full-time for 30 years. She has no other residence, yet she's received a letter from the city. She finds it threatening. The warning stated that she had until August 21st to prove she's exempt or pay the tax, which she would owe $56,000. A lot of money. A Staten Islander who's in a condo, he's in the database, the family, but he didn't get a warning letter, and he says this is the only home he owns, and it's not worth a whole lot of money.
Retired on Social Security, that's basically the money that I get.
I think it's ridiculous.
This is all working class, and families and children and grandchildren.
Yeah, so they're trying to sort it out, and even the borough president, Vito Fasella, he didn't receive a letter, but his name is listed on that website.
In my case, it's the house I grew up in that my father lives. We both have the same name. He owns it, and I have my house. The danger is it's almost like an enemies list that's being created. Yeah. Right? The whole notion of that property is a bad thing, that the American dream is actually now an American nightmare.
Yeah, it means they're punishing people who are successful. The city says it's committed to implementing the new surcharge fairly and efficiently, and they did respond. They say the mistakes that they made will be cleaned up. And while we're talking about the mayor, he says he will be at the 9/11 memorial in September, even though some of the 9/11 families don't want him to show up. Giovanni Galante, whose wife was killed in the North Tower, started a petition to keep Mamdani away. And maybe you missed it. He was on with Sid and Friends in the morning yesterday in a great interview. And he was detailing why he does not wear Mamdani there at the 9/11 ceremony.
Him hanging around the people that supported 9/11, people that have spoken bad about it and think that we deserved it. They didn't deserve it. They were going to work. He's had situations where he knows the bomber of 93. He supports all these people that are running that wipe their face and hands on the flag.
Now, Galante says thousands of people have already signed this petition. It may not make a difference. I don't know how many it would be. The mayor would turn away and not show up, and the mayor says he's going to be there. But you can hear the entire interview with Galante and with Sid by surfing on over to WABCRadio.com. In a moment, we'll head to Queens, where a pit bull went on the attack. It was ugly. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 5:45, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. And here's Justin Ella.
Thank you, Noah Maladen. Sports sponsored by Pete Morgan at Peerless Spoilers. Go to peerlessspoilers.com to find a deal under you. Peerless Spoilers, the world's best built boilers out in Chicago. Garrett Cole pitched 6 shutout innings, a 4-hit ball, and the Yankees beat the White Sox 3-2 for their 5th victory in 6 games. Anthony Volpe hit an RBI double in the second and scored on Max Schumann's 2-run double as the Yankees moved within a game and a half of AL East leading Tampa Bay. Jason Dominguez had 2 hits and reached base 3 times. Closer David Bednar yielded a 2-run homer with 2 outs in the 9th before striking out ex-Yankee Everson Pereira for his 22nd save. Cole was dominant in his 12th start since coming back May 22nd from Tommy John surgery. The 6-time All-Star right-hander struck out 7 and walked 2. Up next for the Yankees, Cam Schlittler will get the start against Chicago righty Davis Martin in tonight's Game 3 of 4 against the White Sox. First pitch from Chicago scheduled for 7:40 p.m. In Queens, the middle game of the Mets series against the visiting Atlanta Braves was postponed last night due to inclement weather. Called more than 5 hours, I should say, before the scheduled first pitch. It's been rescheduled. And that was part of a day-night doubleheader today and tonight. Left-hander Sean Manaea, originally slated to pitch tonight, will start the first game, scheduled for a 1:10 p.m. first pitch from Citi Field. And then the scheduled starters for last night, Mets right-hander Christian Scott and Braves all-star left-hander Chris Sale will pitch in the nightcap, set for a 7:10 p.m. first pitch from Queens.
Baseball players must hate these doubleheaders, right?
Yeah, I think they like these day-night doubleheaders more so than a split doubleheader, which is
one game right after another.
Exactly, okay. One game right after another.
And what day-night means? What? How many hours in between the game?
They'll play this first game. 1:10 p.m. first pitch. It'll probably end somewhere around 4 o'clock.
And then the 7 o'clock game.
4:30 latest, and then you get a couple hours before the 7 o'clock game. You come out around 6:30, 6. I mean, I would imagine they come out a little bit later for warm-ups on a day-night doubleheader day than they normally would. So, you come out around 6, get ready for Game 2 coming up at 7:10 p.m. tonight. But
when it's a day-night doubleheader, they move the crowd out and they bring a whole new crowd.
Exactly.
Okay.
Split doubleheader, you get tickets for both games.
Gotcha.
Good deal. But
look, I learn something new every day.
How about that? And but it's got to bring these guys back to those little league days. Playing 4 games in one day. Those, sitting out in the sun all day.
Right.
If you're a parent with your beach chair. But it's a kid's game at the end of the day. No, Laden.
And
so
they get paid a lot to do it.
Exactly. So get out there and play because you're not going to be playing for the next couple of years, presumably. That's your sports.
That is true.
AP Morgan and Peerless Spoilers. Go to peerlessspoilers.com to find a deal near you. Peerless Spoilers, the world's best spoilers. I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:52. Let's head out to Queens where a pit bull went on the attack, biting 4 members of a family, 2 of them children, while they were unloading groceries from their cars. Police say it happened about 10 o'clock, Beach 62nd Street and Thursby Avenue. Sam Samarat, he said it was his family that was visiting from out of town. They were from Canada here on a vacation, and this pit bull bit his relatives, a 16-year-old girl, an 11-year-old boy, as they unloaded the groceries. A 37-year-old man also bitten, so was a 42-year-old woman. It was their parents.
I ran out and see like every one of my family members were screaming. It came out of nowhere when they were getting out of the car, and it attacked everybody.
There was blood everywhere. The 11-year-old boy suffered injuries to his thigh. That 16-year-old girl, injuries to her neck, her thigh, her leg. A 37-year-old, the dad, had injuries to his left hand. A 42-year-old, injuries to her private area. In fact, they're still in the hospital being treated.
The mother and her daughter, they got beaten most severely. There was blood everywhere.
Now, I know people get mad at me when I go after pit bulls, but I cross the street when I see somebody with a pit bull in my neighborhood. Thankfully, there's not a lot of them. But this man, the guy who owned the pit bull, apparently after the attack, he shows up, he grabs the pit bull, and he walks away. Nothing to the family, nothing at all. Police, of course, are looking for him. So far, they haven't found him. 5:51. Let's head out and up to Westchester, Mamaroneck, where police are searching for a man who is accused of groping a woman over the weekend as she and her 2 friends had left a bar. A neighbor heard her screaming for help from his apartment. He looked outside, caught a glimpse of this wanted man who they haven't found.
I hear screaming like crazy screaming. The guy was completely wear black clothes, and he had the jumper covered his head, and he had a face mask in it, and he had a hand like this, and he was running to the Halstead Avenue.
Now, one of these 3 women who had left this bar, there was about midnight or so, say this guy, they realized he was following him. He then grabs this woman around her waist. The 2 other friends fight him off. They kick him repeatedly. Some of them have scrapes to their arms. I mean, they're otherwise okay. And finally, this guy raced off. But of course, neighbors are worried about who this individual is and if he could strike again. So police have increased patrols in Mamaroneck as they search for this creep.
In this neighborhood, I've been living for the last almost 5 years. It never happened something like that. Never.
Yeah, well, never until it does happen. 5:53. Cops in Suffolk County on Long Island, they continue to look for people involved in these massive street takeovers. They've been happening almost weekly there. This is, and if you haven't seen this, it is crazy and wild. All of a sudden, there'll be 100, 200 people on ATVs, motorcycles, dirt bikes, electric vehicles, and they just take over highways. And so that happened over the weekend in Suffolk County. Locals, they're just fed up with the rowdy and dangerous behavior on the roads.
I think it's very selfish of the people who are doing it. I think it's really offensive.
I think it really terrorizes people in the suburbs.
There's no consequences. Why should they stop what they're doing?
All right, so over the weekend, you had 200 vehicles drive from Smith Haven Mall. That's in Lake Grove. They traveled nearly 20 miles southwest to Bayshore to cause problems there.
We're going to look for faces. We're going to look for vehicle identifications. We're going to confiscate additional vehicles, and we're going to arrest additional people.
And that's the police. Now, they did make 5 arrests over the weekend, including a 22-year-old. His name is Shamir Solomon, who allegedly had a loaded gun in his possession. It's a little frightening. They also seized 10 vehicles. But they stopped this street takeover in one town, and this group of people just went to another town. So they said they're going to beef up patrols over the weekend to make sure it doesn't happen again. While we're out on Long Island, A man there says a tick bite has left him battling a rare illness. This individual's name's Dean Gernhardt. He's from Ridge. He says he's dealing with symptoms since May after he believes he was bitten by a tick at his home. Now, he didn't know exactly what it was. He thought it was from the tick bite. So he went to see an infectious disease specialist at Stony Brook Medical, and they diagnosed him with rabbit fever. It's just like we need another thing to worry about. Rabbit fever. This is so rare, this bacterial infection. Oh, here, I'll let him describe it.
Pretty shocked and surprised me that I had it, because I honestly was hoping that it was going to be negative and I wasn't going to have anything. But unfortunately, I did test positive for it. But at least they found it, so now I'm under treatment.
Now, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, only 200 cases of tularemia or rabbit fever are reported in the U.S. each year. This guy should go play the lottery since he won.
It's been honestly pretty awful. I've been having such bad migraines, really bad shortness of breath. I haven't been able to really sleep that much.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good. So rabbit fever, it's really rare. It sounds really frightening, though, but it's a bacterial disease that is commonly spread by tick bites and deer flies who have had contact with infected animals like rabbits. That's why it's got the fun name of rabbit fever.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?